Okay, so going back, sorry, I'm going to go back to when you were talking about, so Satoshi came up with this idea of a fixed limit, and everything is kind of downstream from there. And Parker talks about this as well. He talks about the most important part of Bitcoin is the 21 million. I think even Jeff Booth is saying that, as long as you...
I'll say something I love is like Parker and I think very differently often, but I think we have a lot of the same ultimate values in some ways. And when he and I both come to the same conclusion for totally different reasons, I think I feel a lot stronger about my beliefs. I think perhaps he does as well.
Yeah, I mean, the show we made with Parker when he talked about the importance of the 21 million and enforcing that, that really resonated with me. That kind of that was one of those moments where I kind of went back and I thought, okay, I understand now. But from that, this 21 million, this fixed kind of supply, are your thoughts that this is what Satoshi needed to do to make Bitcoin work, or what he needed to do to make money work, or is it both?
I think ultimately it's probably both.
Okay.
But I think in the article I was writing, I was trying to not ask the economics question.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not enough of an economist to really like hold court and say why a fixed money supply has to be better, why, for example, tail emission like shouldn't exist, or to argue Austrianism versus Keynesianism. Like I can sort of agree with the Austrian perspective. It seems like it makes sense to me, but I'm not enough of an expert to really feel confident making that argument. I feel someone like Parker is a way better like representative of that view and can just speak like so much more eloquently than I can on why that matters. I was trying to make, in some sense, a much more computer science oriented claim.
So it's to make the system work.
Like you couldn't even build it if you didn't start from that hypothesis, right? It may also be good economics, but that's not what I was saying. I think I agree with that statement, but it's not what I was saying. I was saying we never built B-money. No one ever wrote up a C++ implementation of B-money and had it scale and so on, because I don't think you could do it. Because you will immediately run into these problems of, wait a minute, if all these users are supposed to create bids, how do I collect all the bids? How do I make sure everybody sees the same thing? By eliminating all that complexity, by forcing a constraint to operate, you actually simplify the implementation to the point where you can actually build it. And so my argument is really quite simple. It's independent of any economic good sense that this makes. The notion of a fixed supply, or perhaps more accurately, in my view, a predetermined supply, is a necessary requirement to actually get the thing out the door and get version 0.1 released.
Do we know, and I'm asking this without the ability to search right now, but do we know how much Satoshi talked about the economics of Bitcoin?
I think quite a bit. Yeah, I mean,
did he talk about that with the 21 million? I'm trying to remember. I mean,
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah,
I think one of my favorite Satoshi quotes is, the history of money, et cetera, is basically full of it is central banks printing and enlarging the money supply. Like we trust them to control the money supply, yet the history of money is full of breaches of that trust. I love that phrase.
So we got both. So we got a system that can work and be built, and we also got the economic benefits off the back of that.
Yeah.
Do you think Bitcoin is the best example of a free market there is, and because it's decentralized? I mean, I am referring back to obviously to your article where you talk about distributed versus decentralized systems, and you're essentially saying you can only really have a fully free market in a decentralized system. Is there any other systems that you looked at, you thought, okay, that achieves something similar?
It's interesting. I feel like on some sense, the openness and freeness of markets is really powerful, but markets also need to have strong protections for their participants. Otherwise, it's very easy to turn into, robber baron, like might makes right kind of bad outcomes, right? I find it very powerful that no matter how much hash rate you have, you can't really spend my coins, right? That cryptography gives me as a pleb like a very powerful defense against abuse by those who may have more coins or more hash rate or more real world power than I have. No matter how free the market is, there are some very strong rules built into Bitcoin's protocol. And those rules are just as important to me as the freeness of the market. So with that said, yes, I think I do believe that Bitcoin's market is spectacularly free and open. That's another aspect I think that deserves to be emphasized. It's not just that the market is free, is that there are no barriers to enter the market. And I think the fact that anybody can get a computer or an ASIC and start hashing and essentially selling their services to the open market is really important. It makes that market grow quickly. I also think the fact that anybody who buys any miner who wants to join the mining industry doesn't need to search for customers. I think that's a really important aspect to it too. Like marketing doesn't matter. Like it's not that, because I started my mining outfit in this backwater town that doesn't have a lot of Bitcoin users, somehow I'm going to struggle. Like that's irrelevant. Like the freeness and openness and connectedness of the market means that that's not a concern. And I think that's a really cool idea too. Too often, like the quality of one's service is impeded by like the lack of investment in marketing or being in the wrong place at the wrong time and not having access to the richest segments of the market. Bitcoin in some sense condenses all of that to a single point. We're all connected and we're all part of the same market. And that makes it very, very easy for the service provider side of the market to grow very quickly. And I think we've seen that, right? In 15 short years, Bitcoin's gone from one guy's laptop to, 1% of world electricity usage. Like that's incredible. And that is partly because you don't have to solve these ancillary problems. Like you just step in and you're immediately selling your service to a market of people that are ready to buy it.